So I'll have that looked into.
And just for the user's convenience, having the drawing and the key to the drawing in that maintenance section would be a lot easier for them to refer to.
Yes.
Instead of 2 tabs back.
Yep, yep. And if that's even the correct drawing, because again, it's referencing a number that doesn't show on there, so they may be referring to another drawing altogether, which, if that's the point, I'll find out what that
Right.
is. Yes. I will absolutely do that. Is there any question as far as the adjustments go? Because the numbers are a little confusing as far as what they're referring to. On the adjustments, again, like I said, what you're gonna wanna do is basically loosen up all the bolts, let the impeller and the weight of everything drop down to the point when you go to turn the shaft, you can feel the impeller actually rubbing a little bit against the wear rings. That's where you're gonna start taking your shim pack measurements on between the gap, between, what they just call that a gap. That's gonna be your gap clearance. What I'll do is I'll get a shim pack in there, measure that measurement precisely. And what I'll do is I'll actually take take that measurement and double it, the shim pack on both sides, to make sure that bearing housing stays absolutely flat. What will happen is if you put a shim pack in on one side, sometimes what happens is when you go around, you start blocking, making your adjustments, bringing up your 37,000s, and then tightening up all your bolts to make sure everything is right. Depending on how you tighten your bolts and the bolt pattern, again, there's only 3 bolts that lock it down, 3 bolts that actually raise it up. So what you're going to want to do is adjust the 3 bolts all hand tight to make sure you're at a level plane. And what I'll normally do is go 1 flat, 1 flat, 1 flat, 1 flat, back and forth like you're tightening a tire rim or something like that, alternating pattern to make sure that bearing housing stays on a flat plane. Because a lot of times, depending how you can tighten that, you can actually cock that bearing housing ever so slightly. And even 5-10 thousandths off is going to cause a premature bearing failure down the road. You may not see it 1, 2, 3 years down the line, but 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, your bearing will start failing, which what I call prematurely. Most people are happy to get 5-10 years out of a bearing. However, on these bearings, this bearing is basically made to last a lifetime. There's many pumps out there that have been literally running 20, 25, 30 years. Never had, they put grease in it. They've never done an oil, grease change out, flush out, anything like that. They've never changed out the bearings, and these bearings are still in there running, bulletproof to today. So again, if you follow that procedure, and again, like I said, I'll normally stick the 2 shim packs in there, tighten up all the bolts, and when I pull them out, I want to make sure that you have equal, feel on both sides of that bearing housing when you pull the shims out, making sure everything is all nice and level and plain. And that is a significant, I don't care what type of pump manufacturer you have, there's many pump manufacturers that use this exact same clearance adjustment procedure. And if you do that with any of your pumps, it'll last, the bearings will last sometimes 5, 6, 7 times what you do regular, because again, everything is all straight, plain, level. And again, like I said, sometimes that 5-10 thousandths off makes a big difference as far as the bearing life goes. But other than that, was there any other questions as far as the seals, wear of the pump, or any problems you guys have had in the past on issues on these pumps or anything? Nothing, pretty much good? As far as the operators go, any questions as far as the operational? Again, like I said, I can probably get you guys a little bit more information once I see exactly how they have the water flush to the seals set up, as far as what they're using for a lubricant going in through them. Because again, that's something that the operators are probably going to be a little more concerned about as far as flipping on a pump and making sure that water is actually flowing through a seal before switching something over. The other pumps I want to quickly go through, which is going to be a very similar, is your tank drain pumps. These are almost going to be identical to what your RAS pumps are. The differences are gonna be very, very minute as far as how they're set up, structured. The O&M is virtually the exact same. The clearances are gonna be different as far as on these pumps. They're gonna be tighter clearances than what the RAS pumps give you. Again, the RAS pumps are gonna be a little more on the generous side, between 20 and 37. They're gonna say, again, the nominal is gonna be around 37. They're expecting more debris going through those. The tank drain pumps, however, as again, it's gonna be a little bit more tighter clearance pump. Again, I think the standard on these is usually around 15 to 20 thousandths, which is gonna be a little bit tighter. Again, the bearing adjustments are going to be the exact same. The cleanouts are going to be the exact same, other than the fact that everything's going to be a little bit smaller. The holes, the caps, everything, impellers are going to be a little bit smaller. So if you have to get in there and clean out matter from something getting sucked in from off the tanks or something, again, it's going to be a little bit harder to deal with, but again, still an 8-inch pump, which should give you ample abilities to get in and clean it out. Once you get down 4 inches and under, it becomes a lot more difficult as far as getting into the pumps. But again, most of this stuff's going to be the exact same. The manuals are almost identical, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this one because again, a lot of this is very, very similar to the RAS pumps. Different models, it's a smaller pump. Other than that, it's the exact same type of thing. It's going to be, again, a vertical pump. It's going to be all registered fits. The couplings are the same. The mechanical seals are going to be the exact same. So again, if you have any questions on it, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to go on anything on the tank drain pumps. Other than that, like I said, it's very similar, so I don't want to spend too much more time on the vertical pumps. But all the information is here if you have any questions or if you need to go through anything. And once you get the O&M manuals and you have your the binders, which maybe that's why I couldn't find any manuals, because maybe they already passed them through, so you guys already got some of the O&M manuals, or are those off some of your other pumps?
These are the submittals that we have on the shelf. I'm not sure if they've
Okay.
been, where they are in the
Sure.
review
And they may have already
process.
been processed and sent to you guys, which is because I was trying to find some yesterday and I couldn't find any of the O&Ms at all, so I had to make up some of the rough copies. So again, like I said, that might be why I couldn't find them. They already been passed through, or Fairbanks just may have not sent them to us yet, because again, this was all purchased through Fairbanks Morse. So as the local rep, I'm involved, but as far as what was actually brought back and forth through the sales, was most of that stuff's directly through Walsh Construction and Fairbanks, going back and forth, and I'm an innocent bystander standing as a third party. So the last pump I want to cover is going to be your waste activated sludge pumps. And again, you have 4 of them down there. These are going to be a little different. The makeup of the pump is very similar to the vertical pumps. However, this is in a horizontal plane, and again, it's now a base mounted unit versus basically a pump sitting on a pedestal with a motor, everything registered fitted. So now we have the ability of having misalignments and things like that. So again, it starts off with the installation, and again, you're not going to have to worry about this again right off the bat. However, in the future, if you do have to pull a pump out and send it to a repair facility or something, get something worked on and put back in again, that's when the installation may become a little more involved with you guys, as far as making sure everything's put back in, everything's level and plain, and all the installation is right on key. As the pumps stand, when I get done and these things are started up and turned over, we will be verifying your coupling alignments, your base installations, piping issues, whether if there's any pipe strain or not. These are things that we will, Hayes Pump will be involved with to make sure everything that's covered in here is non-existent. And that stuff will be addressed already. And like I said, this will be stuff more in the future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. That information is going to be in here and also in your O&M manuals for your future reference, as far as what's involved. Again, horizontal mounted pumps are going to be a little bit more involved as far as installation goes. coupling alignments and all that type of stuff. Most of it's going to be the exact same as far as your priming issues go and all that type of stuff. It's still going to have to be the same type of procedures as far as opening up valves, making sure it's all air is all vented out of the system. Pump will not run if the whole system's air-bound and valves are all locked in and you basically it's all air-bound. It will not run, whether if it's vertical, horizontal, vice versa. It doesn't matter. It's you'll have some problems with it. So again, it's the same type of procedures. Whether there's a gauge cock or something there that you can open up, crack, and bleed out some air, get everything purged so you got water flowing out. The rest should be no problem at all. What I do want to quickly go up to is page 27. Again, comes down to your clearances. And again, this manual I think is going to be the same as all the others, where they don't give you the exact clearance. So again, once you get your O&M manuals, they will have a specification sheet, probably the exact same as the WAS pumps and probably the same as the tank drain pumps, that will give you your clearances and all that will be listed in there. The manuals used to list right in the manual on exactly what your clearances are. I don't know why that was removed or why these copies don't have them in there. However, the fact that, like I was saying, there is no necessarily a bullseye answer as far as what your clearances have to be down to the thousands. It's going to be a plus or minus depending on your actual application and how you're actually running it as far as what type of material is getting in there, getting caught up in there. Whether if it's abrasive matter or a fibrous matter or something that's vice versa. They both act a little bit differently. But again, on page 27, it does give you again the procedure on doing the alignments. It's almost doing the impeller adjustments. It's going to be the exact same procedure as the other pumps. The difference is this is going to be a horizontal application versus a vertical application. Again, this is something that's going to be a little more precise because you have to manually bring the impeller in so it starts rubbing and then come back out with your measured clearances of 15, 20 thousandths. And again, that exact number will be in your O&M manual once you get those as far as what that clearance is going to be down to what was spec'd out. Repair parts is going to be the exact same. Again, like I was saying, all these three pumps are virtually the exact same pumps, other than the size, model numbers. Model numbers have to do a lot with the impeller, whether if it's a non-clog or I think all these are non-clog pumps, but some are a little bit more higher volume than the others. This is going to be basically the exact same installation, repair methods. It's virtually the exact same pump. It's a lot smaller pump. It's horizontal rather than vertical. But as far as the actually pulling the pump apart, replacing bearings, replacing a mechanical seal, pulling an impeller off, cleaning it, all that is going to be the exact same as your RAS pumps and your tank drain pumps. The only difference is it's horizontal, but other than that, it's no different than if the pump fell over and it's laying on its side. It's the exact same type of makeup as far as how everything goes together, how things are installed. Your impeller, your shaft sleeve, all that stuff is still going to be Loctited on. So again, if you have to remove them, replace them, that is still going to be stuff that's going to have to be heated up. So you break the bond of the Loctite, you can slide everything off and put the new stuff back on, make sure everything's cleaned up, and Loctite it back on to help seal it for the future. As far as alignments go, alignments are something that, especially on a new application, we will be laser aligning these units to make sure they're well within pump manufacturer specifications and coupling manufacturer specifications. Those will be laser aligned. I do recommend, though, after a year of service, to double check the alignments. A lot of times, especially on If it's a older pump and you're basically repairing it, putting it back in, the alignments seem to stay the same. However, if it's new piping, a lot of construction being done, things like that, the ground's going to be settling, a lot of movement in the grounds. As the building settles, piping settles, things like that, especially on these vertical pumps, the 5444s. They are very end heavy to begin with, from where the actual, I got a better breakdown on the next page, on page, that is not, but the assembly drawing of it. There's a better, you can see where the actual feet are located, and all the weight is off to the piping side of the volute itself. Again, that creates a very end heavy pump to begin with, so it doesn't take a lot of settling, of pipe settling, of pipe strain, anything like that to start shifting the alignments around on the couplings. The quick way to check to see if things have settled, if there's anything going on, is a year after service, shut everything down, double check your alignments. Whether if you guys do that yourself or you call in someone to verify alignments, that does not matter, but if we can just double check the alignments to find out if your alignments are looking like, yes, they need to be addressed. Now again, there's your sign that there's a bigger picture going on here, that we might have to add supports to piping. Some piping might have settled beyond what limitations might have. So again, that's something that pipe supports might need to be added. Piping might need to be modified a little bit, but again, that's usually a good sign. And again, like I said, on vertical pumps, you don't notice that type of stuff, 'cause everything's on a pedestal mounted. Alignments don't change because everything's registered fit. So again, if you get much pipe strain, you usually don't even notice it on the bigger pumps, because everything is all basically centered from a bracket in. So any movements, top, bottom, and stuff don't really affect it too much. On the 5444s, on the horizontal versions, they do get affected quite a bit. It doesn't take much pipe strain from the back end to really shift things around and start moving things up and down and start twisting your coupling alignments. And again, if you do have coupling misalignments, it's going to start wearing not only your coupling prematurely, but then it's going to start affecting your bearings prematurely and your mechanical seal prematurely. As far as pipe misalignment goes, if there's pipe strain issues, it's not warranted. If it's other issues unrelated to the pipe strain, it's warranty. Everything's warranted for a year. So again, a lot of issues will be, if it's something involved, get us out here, we'll take a look at it. If it's a pipe strain issue, that is not part of the warranty. That's something, like I said, that's something that would be a billable type of situation out there. So again, that's something, like I said, especially on these type of pumps, that's something that you guys would have to be proactive as far as checking the alignments over time to verify that there's no pipe strain. Many places don't have pipe strain. I've seen some places that have an enormous amount of pipe strains, to the point where within 6 months we're going back in and having them install 6, 7, 8 different piping brackets, trying to put the piping back where it was originally put in from day one. And again, that's going to all come down to how the piping was installed. I don't know how the piping was installed, how well they've got everything supported, and all that type of stuff.